10 Golden Age stars whose wives always cheated on them. Hollywood's golden era wasn't only glitter and glory on the screen. Behind the flawless studio portraits and glamorous red carpet premieres existed a hidden world of deceit and betrayal that studio fixers worked tirelessly to keep from public eyes. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on one of Hollywood's most shocking secrets: the leading men who dominated the box office but lost control of their personal lives. These were the stars you revered, the men millions of women dreamed of, but many of them returned home to wives who were secretly cheating. These weren't mere one-time trysts. They were calculated acts of infidelity that devastated some of Hollywood's most renowned men emotionally, even as they went on smiling in front of the camera. What you're going to hear isn't gleaned from slick, sanctioned biographies. This is the raw, unflinching truth about 10 Golden Age legends whose personal lives were far removed from the romantic ideals they portrayed on screen. And what's perhaps most shocking, some of these iconic men didn't even find out the full depth of their humiliation until decades later. I suppose you didn't hear her say anything either. Well, you see, I was kind of tired, and I wasn't paying much attention to Why Don't You All? 1. Humphrey Bogart, the tough guy who couldn't tame his volatile wife. Long before Humphrey Bogart settled down with Lauren Bacall, America's beloved tough guy was stuck in a marriage that could have been scripted by the same writers of his darkest film noirs. His third wife, Mayo Method, was not merely stubborn. She was infamous for her quick temper and mood swings, given the nickname Sluggy for her violent behavior during their notorious booze-soaked brawls. While Bogey was wowing crowds on the big screen, his wife was burning up the house, literally and figuratively. And according to gossip around town, she wasn't acting alone. Their Beverly Hills residence even became the subject of whispers as Sluggy Hollow, a grimly ironic name for the otherwise idyllic-sounding Sleepy Hollow. Witnesses painted pictures of mayhem, shattered plate, broken glass, and furniture tossed out windows during their raging arguments. But what few knew was that Mayo's possessive jealousy was not entirely unjustified. It was projection. Several people who knew the couple, ranging from domestic workers to neighbors, asserted that Mayo had ample male visitors whenever Bogart was absent on location filming or doing publicity work for his films. "Once delivery man in the neighborhood," said one neighbor, "always took an awfully long time to deliver packages. He'd arrive right after Bogey departed and wouldn't leave until right before he returned." Bogart probably suspected the infidelities, but he was caught out. In those days, male film stars were supposed to be masters of their houses, and confessing to being deceived would have been a public embarrassment, a blow to both his pride and to his carefully honed image as a tough guy. Ironically, Mayo's jealously ranted about Bogart's alleged infidelities became more heated the more promiscuous she herself became. While Bogart spent long, hard hours on the set of Casablanca filming, accounts stated that Mayo's callers became even more regular. Their marriage eventually ended in 1945 when Bogart became infatuated with his to-have and have-not co-star Lauren Bacall. While the public perceived it as Bogart abandoning a troubled wife for a younger woman, those close to him claimed otherwise. It was the time Bogart finally gathered the strength to leave behind years of emotional abuse and clandestine humiliation. "Madre, I don't think that's very nice. Making fun of my Spanish." 2. Desi Arnaz. When Lucy decided two could play that game. When Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz shared screen time on I Love Lucy, they looked like America's ideal couple, the cute redhead and her handsome Cuban bandleader hubby. Their chemistry on screen captivated millions, making them TV's first superstar couple. But behind the laughter and applause lay a marriage with adultery, and not only from Desi's side. Both had strayed, although Lucy was much more discreet. Desi Arnaz's womanizing was one of Hollywood's worst-kept secrets. His cheating was so constant and brazen that even the studio struggled to keep it out of the tabloids. From chorus girls to prostitutes, Desi's affairs were numerous and shameless. He often didn't even try to hide them. Desi wouldn't just cheat. He'd cheat in public locations where everybody knew him, admitted a CBS executive. It was almost as if he wanted Lucy to know. For decades, the story was always told as Desi's endless betrayals and Lucy's patience. But newly uncovered accounts reveal something far more complicated. Eventually, Lucille Ball began having affairs herself, not because she was searching for new love, but because she needed a way to emotionally survive Desi's constant humiliation. It was her version of self-defense, said one old friend. After years of being publicly humiliated, she concluded that what was good for the goose was good for the gander. The difference was in the method. Whereas Desi was loose and blatant, Lucy was guarded and calculated. She supposedly became close friends with at least two of her co-stars, always making sure she could plead ignorance if necessary. Lucy was a genius at controlling her image, remembered a one-time studio publicist. She understood that whereas fans might excuse Desi for cheating, they'd never excuse her for doing the same. What makes their tale particularly bittersweet is that in spite of their mutual infidelities, Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz did love each other. Their passion never fully died. Even after their divorce in 1960, they couldn't cohabitate, but they also couldn't let go. Even after both remarried, a family friend noted, there was always something between them, a spark that never really died. 3. Clark Gable, Hollywood's king, ousted at home. Having come back from Kingman, Arizona, as newlyweds with Clark Gable and Carole Lombard, the public viewed them as Hollywood's golden couple. But prior to achieving happiness with Lombard, Gable's previous marriages were a different tale, one in which Hollywood's king was not always the ruler of his own home. The dashing actor who could make women swoon, as Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind embodied the ultimate masculine charm. Nicknamed the King of Hollywood, Gable reigned over the silver screen for decades. Off-screen, however, his first two marriages, to Josephine Dillon and Maria Langham, showed another face. Both women were much older, Dillon 17 years, Langham 11, and both were rich, refined, and responsible for helping the raw, uneducated youth from Ohio become the suave gentleman who would eventually dominate Hollywood. Allegedly, Josephine considered him more of a project than as a husband. She refined his manner of speaking, funded his dental work, and set the direction of his career. But she also kept him tightly in check, both socially and financially. This control was said to continue to the extent that Josephine had her own social life independent of his. One, according to numerous accounts, that included other men. Due to the significant age gap between them, most historians have opined that their marriage was more a business deal than a love affair. There were certainly men who visited Josephine when Clark was away filming or on studio functions, said one of the neighbors. Whether they were romantic trysts or just social calls was never certain, but their frequency and timing raised eyebrows. Clark Gable's second marriage to Maria Langham also appeared to be similarly planned. Another mature and rich woman, Langham offered Gable economic security and good social standing. Once more, stories broke of Maria continuing to have relationships with other males, particularly as Gable's increasing popularity started to keep him homebound less and less. Maria had a special friend, a European gentleman who always appeared whenever Clark was away, one Hollywood hostess remembered. They seemed very comfortable with each other, in a way that indicated a long and familiar intimacy. All this was altered, however, when Gable fell deeply in love with actress Carole Lombard. In contrast to his earlier wives, Lombard was a performing success within Gable's own generation, and with her, he at last discovered a relationship based on shared respect and real feeling instead of calculation or social status. With Carole, he was a whole different man, a studio insider observed. For the first time, he appeared truly in love, instead of merely acting a part in someone else's drama. Gary Cooper, frequently referred to as the gentleman's agreement, epitomized American values on the screen: integrity, honesty, and moral courage. But behind the camera, his 28-year union with high society woman Veronica Balfe was regulated by an arrangement that would have shocked his fans. The pair had an unspoken agreement: never embarrass each other and never get caught. Cooper's numerous affairs, with Grace Kelly, Patricia Neal, and Ingrid Bergman among them, were no secret on Hollywood. What the fuck they never understood was how Rocky dealt with his chronic adultery. Rocky wasn't oblivious to what was going on, said a family friend of many years. She had come from a world where such marriages were the norm. The only requirement was utter discretion and maintaining the illusion of perfection. Members of her social set disclosed that roughly 10 years into the marriage, Rocky started having her own secret affairs after she understood Cooper's affairs were here to stay. She was far too sophisticated for confrontations or ultimatums, a hostess on the society circuit said. Instead, she quietly surrounded herself